The black sedan swerved hard. Elena Ross gripped the door handle as her driver yanked the wheel left, narrowly missing the truck that had blown through the red light. Her heart hammered. But what terrified her more than the near crash was the look on his face. Calm, almost bored, like he'd seen it coming a mile away. "You all right, Ms. Ross?" he asked, adjusting the rearview mirror. She stared at the back of his head. Who the hell was this man? If you want to see how far a single father's secret can shake $1 billion empire, stay until the end, and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Liam Carter had been awake since 4:30 that morning. Not because he wanted to be. His daughter Sophie had crawled into his bed around 2, whimpering about a nightmare she couldn't remember. He'd held her until she fell back asleep, then spent the next 2.5 hours staring at the ceiling, running through the day ahead. By the time the sun crept through the blinds of their small apartment, he was already dressed. Dark slacks, white button-down, black tie. The uniform of invisibility. He made Sophie pancakes, walked her to the bus stop, kissed her forehead, and watched the yellow doors close before heading to the garage where he kept the car. It wasn't his car. Nothing about this job was his. But that was the point. The agency had called him the night before. Last-minute gig, high-profile client, good pay. He'd hesitated. He always hesitated when it meant rearranging his life around Sophie. But Mrs. Brennan next door had agreed to pick her up from school, and the money was too good to pass up. So here he was, standing outside the glass tower of Ross Industries at 7:45 in the morning, waiting for a woman he'd never met. Elena Ross stepped out of the building at exactly 8 o'clock. She didn't look like the kind of person who was ever late. Mid-20s, sharp suit, hair pulled back tight enough to give anyone else a headache. She moved like she was already annoyed, phone pressed to her ear, heels clicking against the pavement in a rhythm that said, "Get out of my way." Liam opened the back door. She slid in without a word, still talking. "I don't care what Marcus says. If the board thinks they can move the vote up without my approval, they're delusional. Stall them. I'll be there in 20. She hung up, met his eyes in the rearview mirror. "You're not Anthony." "No, ma'am." "Where's Anthony?" "I couldn't tell you. The agency sent me instead." She studied him for a beat longer than was comfortable. "What's your name?" "Liam." "Well, Liam, I need to be at headquarters in 15 minutes. Think you can manage that?" "Yes, ma'am." He pulled into traffic. Elena went back to her phone, fingers flying across the screen. Liam kept his eyes on the road, but he was aware of everything, the tension in her posture, the way she kept glancing at the time, the faint smell of coffee and expensive perfume. She was wound tight, tighter than most. They hit a red light 2 blocks from the tower. Elena exhaled sharply. This city's a nightmare. Liam didn't respond. He'd learned a long time ago that most people didn't actually want a reply. They just wanted to be heard. The light turned green. He eased forward. Then he saw it. The delivery truck barreling through the intersection from the left. No sign of slowing. He didn't think, just moved. His hand shot to the wheel, yanking it hard left as his foot slammed the gas. The sedan lurched forward, tires screaming. The truck roared past, close enough that Liam felt the air displacement rock the car. Horns blared. Someone shouted. Liam straightened the wheel, merged back into the lane, and kept driving. Silence. He glanced in the mirror. Elena was staring at him, her knuckles white where they gripped the door handle. "You all right, Ms. Ross?" She blinked. "What the hell was that?" "Truck ran the light." "I can see that. How did you—" She stopped, shook her head. "You didn't even hesitate." "Didn't have time to." Her eyes stayed on him for a long moment. Then she sat back, releasing the door handle slowly. "Right," she said quietly. "Well, thanks. Just doing my job." She didn't say anything else, but Liam could feel her watching him the rest of the drive. Headquarters was chaos. Elena stepped out of the car the second Liam pulled up to the curb, already back on her phone. "I need the updated financials on my desk in 10 minutes, and someone tell Marcus if he's not in the conference room when I get there, he's fired." She disappeared through the revolving doors. Liam parked in the underground garage and killed the engine. He sat there for a moment, hands still on the wheel, letting the adrenaline drain out of his system. That truck had been close. Too close. If he'd hesitated even half a second, his phone buzzed. Hey, Dad, Mrs. Brennan says I can have ice cream after school. Can I? He smiled, texted back. 1 scoop, and you still have to eat your vegetables at dinner. 3 dots. Then, fine. Love you. Love you too, kiddo. He pocketed the phone and leaned back in the seat. This was supposed to be a one-day gig. Drive the CEO around, keep his head down, collect the check. Easy. Except nothing about Elena Ross felt easy. She came back 4 hours later looking worse than when she'd left. Her hair was still pulled back, but a few strands had escaped. Her jaw was tight. She got into the car without a word, slumped against the seat, and closed her eyes. Where to? Liam asked. I don't care. Just drive. So he did. He took her through the business district, out toward the quieter streets near the river. No destination, just movement. Sometimes that was enough. After 20 minutes, she spoke. Do you have family? Liam kept his eyes on the road. A daughter. How old? 7. Elena was quiet for a moment. That's good. Family's important. There was something in her voice. Not sadness exactly. More like absence. Like she was talking about something she'd read in a book once but never experienced. Do you have family, Ms. Ross? Not really. She opened her eyes, stared out the window. My parents died when I was 16. Car accident. I was supposed to be in the car with them, but I stayed late at school for a debate tournament. She said it flatly, like she was reading off a grocery list. I inherited the company, spent the next 9 years trying not to destroy what they built. Liam didn't know what to say to that, so he didn't say anything. You know what the worst part is? She continued. I don't even know if I'm doing it right. Every decision I make, I wonder if they'd approve, if they'd be proud, or if they'd be horrified that I've turned their legacy into this. This looks pretty successful from where I'm sitting. She laughed, but it was sharp. Success is just a prettier word for survival. Liam glanced at her in the mirror. She was staring out at the river now, her reflection ghostly in the glass. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I think you're doing fine. She met his eyes in the mirror. You don't even know me. No, but I know pressure when I see it, and you're still standing. Something flickered across her face. She looked away. Yeah, she said softly. I guess I am. The rest of the week fell into a strange rhythm. Every morning, Liam picked Elena up at 8. Every evening, he dropped her off sometime after 7. In between, he drove her to meetings, corporate lunches, investor calls. He learned her patterns, the way she chewed the inside of her cheek when she was thinking, the way she drummed her fingers against her thigh when she was angry, the way she went completely still when she was scared. He also learned that Ross Industries was in trouble. He overheard enough phone calls to piece it together. A hostile takeover attempt, internal sabotage, a board member named Marcus Hale who seemed hell-bent on pushing Elena out. The company her parents had built was being torn apart from the inside, and she was fighting a war on every front. Liam told himself it wasn't his problem. But then, on Thursday, something changed. Elena had a meeting across town with a potential investor. Big money, make-or-break kind of deal. She'd been tense all morning, snapping at her assistant, barely touching the coffee she'd brought into the car. Liam pulled up to the building, a sleek high-rise in the financial district. Elena gathered her things, phone, tablet, leather portfolio. I'll be about an hour, she said. I'll be here. She nodded and got out. Liam watched her disappear into the building. Then he got out of the car and walked the perimeter. It was habit, old instincts that never quite went away. He checked the lot, the side exits, the service entrances. Everything looked fine, except for the man leaning against a concrete pillar near the back of the garage. Mid-40s, expensive suit, Bluetooth earpiece. He was on the phone, but his eyes kept drifting toward the elevator Elena had just entered. Liam kept walking, circled back to the car, pulled out his phone and ran the plate number of the black SUV parked 3 spaces down from the sedan. Registered to a shell company. Red flag. He texted the agency, asked if they had any additional security on Elena Ross today. The response came back almost immediately. No. Why? Liam didn't answer. He got back in the car and waited. 53 minutes later, Elena emerged from the building. She looked lighter, almost smiling. The meeting must have gone well. She opened the back door, slid in. Let's go. I need to get back to the office before Marcus finds out I just locked in $15 million in funding. Liam started the engine, pulled out of the space. The black SUV followed. He watched it in the rearview mirror, 2 car lengths back, matching his speed. When he changed lanes, it changed lanes. Elena was on her phone, oblivious. Liam's jaw tightened. He took a left at the next intersection. The SUV followed, another left. Still there. Elena glanced up. This isn't the way back. Taking a detour. Why? Traffic. It wasn't traffic. He turned into a narrow side street, accelerated hard, then took a sharp right into an alley that dumped them onto a service road. The SUV tried to follow, but Liam cut through a gap between 2 buildings that was barely wide enough for the sedan. By the time they hit the main road again, the SUV was gone. Elena was gripping the door handle again. What the hell was that? Someone was following us. Following what? Who? Black SUV, 3 cars back. They've been on us since you left the building. Her face went pale. Are you sure? Yes. She stared at him. How did you... She stopped. You know what? Never mind. Just get me back to headquarters. Now. Yes, ma'am. They didn't speak the rest of the way. That night, Liam picked Sophie up from Mrs. Brennan's apartment and made her spaghetti. She chattered about school, about the kid in her class who'd brought a lizard for show and tell, about the drawing she'd made of the 2 of them. It's us at the beach, she said, holding up the paper. 2 stick figures, one tall and one small, standing under a bright yellow sun. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Can we go to the beach sometime? Maybe this summer. You always say that. I know. He ruffled her hair. But this time I mean it. She grinned and went back to her spaghetti. Liam watched her, this tiny person who was his entire world, and felt the familiar weight settle on his chest. Everything he did, every choice he made, was for her. To keep her safe. To give her a life that wasn't shaped by the things he'd had to do. He'd walked away from that world years ago, left it behind the day Sophie was born, and he'd sworn he'd never go back. But sitting there, remembering the way Elena's face had gone pale in the car, the way her voice had cracked when she'd said, "Are you sure?" He wasn't so sure he could stay away much longer. Friday morning, the agency called. Ms. Ross requested you specifically for the rest of the month. Liam frowned. I thought this was a 1-week gig. It was, but she was impressed. Wants you full-time. He should have said no. Should have told them to find someone else. This was already getting complicated. But then he thought about the black SUV, about Marcus Hale and the board members circling like sharks, about the way Elena carried the weight of an entire company on her shoulders and still showed up every morning like she had something left to prove. Fine, he said. I'll do it. Great, she needs you at 7 tomorrow. Some kind of emergency meeting. On a Saturday? Hey man, I just make the calls. Liam hung up, stared at the phone. What are you doing? He thought, but he already knew the answer. Saturday morning came too fast. Liam dropped Sophie off at her friend's house for a play date, then drove to Elena's building. She was waiting outside, pacing, phone pressed to her ear. I don't care if it's the weekend, Gerald. Get them on the line and tell them we're not backing down. She hung up, got in the car. Morning, Liam said. Morning. She rubbed her eyes. Sorry, long night. What's going on? She hesitated, then quietly. Someone's trying to force a vote. They want to remove me as CEO. Liam's hands tightened on the wheel. Who? Marcus Hale, and half the board. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the exhaustion underneath. They've been planning this for months, and I didn't see it coming. What are you going to do? Fight. She met his eyes in the mirror. I didn't survive the last 9 years just to let them take this from me. Liam nodded. Where do you need to be? Headquarters, emergency meeting in 30 minutes. Then let's go. He pulled into traffic, and for the first time since this whole thing started, Liam felt the old instincts kick in. The ones he'd buried. The ones that had kept him alive when the world wanted him dead. Because this wasn't just a job anymore. This was personal. The meeting was brutal. Liam waited in the car, but he could see it through the glass walls of the top-floor conference room. Elena, standing at the head of the table. Marcus Hale, smug and confident, gesturing like he'd already won. The board members, faces impassive, listening to both sides. It went on for 2 hours. When Elena finally emerged, she looked gutted. She got in the car, closed the door, and just sat there. "They're voting Monday," she said quietly, "and I don't have the numbers." Liam watched her in the mirror. "How short are you?" "3 votes. Can you flip anyone?" "I don't know." She pressed her palms against her eyes. "I've tried everything, but Marcus has them convinced I'm too young, too reckless, that I'm going to run the company into the ground. And maybe he's right. He's not." She dropped her hands, looked at him. "You don't know that." "Yeah, I do." Liam held her gaze. "You care about this company, about the people who work for it. That's not reckless. That's leadership." Her eyes glistened. She looked away. "Thanks, but I don't think caring is going to be enough." Liam wanted to tell her it would be, that she'd find a way, that she wasn't alone. But he didn't. Because the truth was, sometimes caring wasn't enough. Sometimes you had to be willing to burn everything down to protect what mattered. And Liam had done that before. He could do it again. But that night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam sat at his kitchen table and opened his laptop. He hadn't touched this file in years. Hadn't even thought about it. But now, he typed in the password, waited for the encryption to unlock. The screen filled with documents, old contracts, shareholder agreements, legal filings from 15 years ago, when Ross Industries had been a scrappy startup with 2 founders, Daniel Ross and Thomas Carter, Liam's father. The man who'd been erased from history when Daniel Ross bought him out for pennies on the dollar, then buried the truth under layers of legal paperwork and silence. The man who'd died broke and forgotten while his partner built an empire. Liam had spent years trying to forget this, trying to move on. But looking at Elena's face today, seeing the fear and exhaustion and desperate hope, he couldn't walk away. Not this time. He pulled up the shareholder documents, scanned through the fine print, and there it was. Buried in Clause 17, subparagraph C, a provision that had never been exercised, a clause that said if Thomas Carter or his direct heir ever chose to claim their stake, the company would be legally obligated to honor it. Liam sat back. He could do this. He could step forward. He could flip the vote and save the company, but it would mean revealing who he was, what he'd been hiding. It would mean tearing open every scar he'd spent 7 years trying to heal. He looked at the closed door of Sophie's room, thought about her smile, her laugh, the way she trusted him to keep her safe, and he made his choice. Monday morning. Liam picked Elena up at 7. She looked like she hadn't slept. He didn't ask if she was ready. He already knew the answer. They drove to headquarters in silence. When they pulled up, Elena didn't move, just sat there, staring at the building. "I don't know if I can do this," she said quietly. Liam met her eyes in the mirror. "You can." "How do you know?" "Because you're still here." She held his gaze. Then slowly she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." She got out of the car. Liam watched her walk toward the building, shoulders squared, head high. And then he reached into the glove compartment and pulled out the envelope he'd prepared the night before. Inside were the documents, the proof, the truth. He got out of the car and followed her inside. Because this wasn't just her fight anymore. It was his too, and Liam Carter was done hiding. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt longer than it should have. Elena stood with her arms crossed, staring at the numbers as they climbed. Liam stood beside her, the envelope tucked inside his jacket. Neither of them spoke. When the doors opened, Elena's assistant was waiting, tablet in hand, face pale. "They're already inside," she said. "Marcus brought his lawyer." Elena's jaw tightened. "Of course he did." "Ms. Ross, The assistant hesitated. "Good luck." Elena nodded, then walked toward the conference room. Liam followed. "You don't have to come in," Elena said without looking back. "I know." She stopped at the door, turned to face him. "Liam, whatever happens in there, thank you. For this week, for everything." He met her eyes. It's not over yet. Something flickered across her face. Hope, maybe. Or fear. She nodded once, then pushed open the door. The conference room was packed. 12 board members sat around the long table, Marcus Hale at the center like a king holding court. His lawyer sat beside him, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a briefcase that probably cost more than Liam's car. Elena's few remaining allies were scattered among the group, looking outnumbered and tired. Marcus smiled when Elena entered. "Good morning, Elena. Glad you could make it." "Let's skip the pleasantries, Marcus." Elena took her seat at the head of the table. "You called this meeting. Get on with it." Marcus's smile widened. "Of course. Mr. Chen, would you mind recording the minutes?" An older man near the end of the table nodded and opened his laptop. "For the record," Marcus began, "this emergency session of the Ross Industries Board of Directors has been convened to address growing concerns regarding the current leadership's ability to guide this company through a period of significant financial and operational challenge." Elena's expression didn't change, but Liam saw her hands tighten around the armrests of her chair. Marcus continued, "Over the past 18 months, we've seen declining profit margins, failed expansion attempts, and a leadership style that prioritizes personal vision over shareholder value. The board has a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interests of this company and its stakeholders, which is why I'm formally proposing a vote of no confidence in Elena Ross as Chief Executive Officer." The room went silent. One of the board members, a woman in her 60s, cleared her throat. "Marcus, this is extreme. Elena's been running this company for nearly a decade. And in that time, we've stagnated," Marcus shot back. "We're losing ground to competitors. Our stock price is down 14% from last year. How long are we supposed to wait before we admit this isn't working?" "The market's been volatile across the entire sector," Elena said evenly. "Every tech firm is dealing with the same headwinds. We're actually outperforming most of our competitors." "Barely," Marcus leaned forward. "And that's not good enough. This company was built on innovation, on bold moves. Under your leadership, we've become reactive, timid. Your parents would be ashamed." Elena flinched, just slightly, but Liam saw it. "My parents," she said quietly, "built this company on integrity, on treating people like they mattered, not just as line items on a balance sheet. Integrity doesn't pay dividends. No, but it builds something that lasts." Marcus laughed. "Does it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're about to lose everything they built." Elena started to respond, but another board member cut in. "Enough. Let's just vote and be done with this." Marcus nodded. "All in favor of removing Elena Ross as CEO, say aye." 6 voices said aye. Liam counted them. Marcus. His lawyer didn't get a vote, but the others did. 6 out of 12. All opposed? 4 voices. Nay, Elena's allies. Not enough. Marcus looked around the room. That leaves 2 abstentions. Mr. Chen? Ms. Alvarez? Care to make this official? The older man, Chen, shifted in his seat. He'd been on the board since Elena's father was alive. Liam had seen his name in the old documents. Chen hesitated. "I need more time to consider." "We don't have more time," Marcus snapped. "Vote." "Marcus, I've known this family for 20 years. I'm not going to vote, or I'll assume you're opposed to the company's future." Chen's face went red. He looked at Elena. She gave him a small nod like she was releasing him from something. "Aye," he said quietly. 7. Marcus turned to the last holdout, a younger woman who'd been silent the entire meeting. "Ms. Alvarez?" She didn't look at anyone, just stared at the table. "Aye." 8-4. Marcus sat back, triumphant. Motion carries. Effective immediately, Elena Ross is removed as Chief Executive Officer of Ross Industries. I'll be assuming interim leadership until we can appoint a permanent replacement. The room erupted. Elena's allies started shouting, demanding recounts, procedural challenges. Marcus's people talked over them, citing bylaws and shareholder agreements. It was chaos, and Liam stood there, watching it all fall apart. Then he stepped forward. "Excuse me." No one heard him. The shouting continued. Liam raised his voice. "Excuse me." A few people glanced his way. Marcus frowned. "Who the hell are you?" My name is Liam Carter. He pulled the envelope from his jacket and set it on the table. And I believe this vote is premature. Marcus stared at him. You're the driver. Yes. Then get out. This is a private meeting. Actually, Liam said calmly, I have a legal right to be here. He opened the envelope and pulled out the documents, slid them across the table toward Marcus. What is this? Marcus demanded. Proof that I'm a shareholder in this company. The room went dead silent. Marcus picked up the papers, scanned them. His face went from confusion to disbelief to something close to rage. This is fake. It's not, Liam said. Feel free to have your lawyer verify it. The thin man with the glasses grabbed the documents and started reading. His expression shifted. He looked up at Marcus and shook his head slowly. It's legitimate. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. That's impossible. There are only 12 voting shareholders in this company. 11 board members and Elena. That's it. No, Liam said. There are 13. You just forgot about the 12th. What are you talking about? Liam met his eyes. Thomas Carter, one of the original co-founders. He owned 30% of this company when it was incorporated. And according to Clause 17 of the original shareholder agreement, his stake was never nullified, just dormant. Elena was staring at him now, her face pale. Thomas Carter, she whispered. My father's partner. Your father bought him out, Liam said, paid him almost nothing and buried the paperwork. But the clause still exists, and I'm his direct heir. The room exploded again. This time the shouting was directed at Liam. People demanding to see proof, yelling about fraud, threatening lawsuits. Marcus stood up. Even if this is real, which I'm not conceding, you can't just show up and claim a stake in a billion-dollar company. I'm not claiming it, Liam said. I already own it. I'm just exercising my right to vote. The lawyer was flipping through the documents frantically. Mr. Hale, he's correct. The clause was never revoked. If he can prove he's Thomas Carter's heir, I can. Liam pulled out another set of papers. Birth certificate, death certificate, legal documentation tracing the lineage. He'd spent all night making sure it was airtight. Marcus looked like he wanted to flip the table. This is insane. No, Liam said. This is the law. One of the board members, the woman who'd spoken earlier, leaned forward. If this is true, what percentage of the company do you control? 30%. She sat back. That's more than anyone else in this room. Marcus's face went purple. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Liam looked around the table. Which means the vote you just took is invalid, because you didn't include all the shareholders. Elena was still staring at him. He couldn't read her expression. Marcus recovered quickly. Fine. Let's revote, with Carter included. It doesn't change the outcome. Actually, Liam said, it does. He pulled out a chair and sat down. I vote to keep Elena Ross as CEO. The room went silent again. Marcus's jaw worked. You're voting to keep her? That's what I said. You don't even know her. I know enough. Marcus laughed, but it was harsh. This is a joke. You're a driver. You've been chauffeuring her around for a week, and now you think you understand how to run a company? I never said I wanted to run it, Liam replied. I said I want her to keep running it. Why? Liam glanced at Elena. She was watching him, her eyes wide, like she was seeing him for the first time. Because she cares, he said simply. And that matters. Marcus shook his head. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it honestly. The lawyer leaned over and whispered something to Marcus. Marcus's expression darkened even further, but he nodded. Fine, he said tightly. Let's revote. All in favor of removing Elena Ross as CEO? The same 6 voices said, aye. Chen and Alvarez hesitated, then joined them again. 8. All opposed? 4 board members said nay. Then Liam. Nay. 5. Marcus stared at him. That's still 8-5. You lose. Liam shook his head. Actually, you're forgetting something. I own 30% of the company. That's not the same as 1 vote. The lawyer went pale. He's right. Voting rights are proportional to ownership. Marcus's face twisted. What does that mean? It means, the lawyer said slowly, that his vote carries more weight than anyone else's in this room. Dead silence. Then Chen spoke up. How much weight? The lawyer did the math quickly. Enough to swing the vote. If he's opposed, the motion fails. Marcus looked like he'd been punched. That's not possible. It's in the bylaws, the lawyer said. Majority shareholder has veto power on executive decisions. Liam watched the realization spread across Marcus's face, watched the man who'd been so confident just minutes ago crumble. So, Liam said quietly, the motion fails. Elena stays. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell backward. This isn't over. Yeah, Liam said. It is. Marcus grabbed his briefcase and stormed out, his lawyer scrambling to keep up. Two of his allies followed. The rest of the board sat there, stunned. Elena still hadn't moved. After a long moment, Chen cleared his throat. I think we should adjourn. Clearly, there's a lot to process here. No one argued. The board members filed out one by one, throwing glances at Liam as they passed. Some looked angry, some looked confused, one looked almost relieved. When the room was empty except for the two of them, Elena finally spoke. You're Thomas Carter's son. Yeah. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want it to matter. She laughed, but it was shaky. Didn't want it to, Liam, you own 30% of my company. How could that not matter? I walked away from this a long time ago, he said. I didn't want anything to do with it. But then I met you, and I saw what Marcus was doing, and He stopped. I couldn't let it happen. Elena stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the city below. Your father and mine started this company together. Yeah. And my father screwed yours over. Liam didn't respond. Elena turned to face him. Did you plan this? Did you take this job to get revenge? No. He met her eyes. I didn't even know who you were until last Monday. The agency just called and said they needed a driver. I needed the money. But you knew about the stake, the clause. I knew. I've known for years, I just never planned to use it. Why now? Because you needed help. She stared at him. You don't even know me. I know you're trying to do the right thing. I know you're fighting people who only care about money. I know you're exhausted and scared and still showing up every day. He paused. That's enough. Her eyes were shining. She looked away, blinking hard. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Liam, you just saved my job, my company. Her voice broke. She took a breath. Why? He thought about Sophie, about the way she'd hugged him this morning before he left, told him she loved him, made him promise to be home for dinner. He thought about the life he'd built, quiet and small and safe, the life he'd chosen because he never wanted her to see the man he used to be. But this, what he'd just done, it wasn't about going back. It was about stepping forward, for the right reasons this time. Because some things are worth fighting for, he said quietly. Elena held his gaze for a long moment. Then she crossed the room and hugged him. It surprised him. She didn't seem like the hugging type, but her arms wrapped around him tightly, and he could feel her shaking. Thank you, she whispered. Liam hesitated, then hugged her back. You're welcome. They stood like that for a few seconds. Then Elena pulled away, wiping her eyes quickly. Sorry, I don't usually... It's okay, she laughed. I just got ambushed by my own board, lost a vote, and then got saved by my driver, who's secretly a majority shareholder. I think I'm entitled to a breakdown. Fair. She sat down heavily in one of the chairs. What happens now? I don't know. That's up to you. Marcus isn't going to let this go. Probably not. He'll come after you, try to invalidate the claim, tie it up in court. Let him. Elena shook her head. You don't understand. He's ruthless. He'll dig into your life, your past, everything. And if he finds anything he can use... He won't find anything, Liam said. It wasn't entirely true, but close enough. How can you be sure? Because I've been careful. She studied him. You're not just a driver, are you? Liam didn't answer. Who are you? She asked quietly. Someone who's trying to leave the past behind. And yet here you are, dragging it back into the open. Yeah, funny how that works. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I need to know what I'm dealing with. If we're going to do this, if you're really going to stay involved, I need to know who you are. Liam sat down across from her. What do you want to know? Everything. He almost laughed. That's a long story. I've got time. He looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd been carrying the weight of an empire on her shoulders for nearly a decade, who'd just been betrayed by people she trusted, who should have been furious at him for keeping this secret, but instead was just asking to understand. Maybe she deserved the truth. My father was a good man, Liam said. He wasn't a businessman. Not really. He was an engineer, loved building things, solving problems. Your father was the visionary, the one who saw the big picture. Together, they made a hell of a team. Elena nodded. I've heard the stories. My dad used to talk about him sometimes, before he forced him out. She winced. Yeah, Liam leaned back in the chair. When the company started taking off, your father wanted to expand faster than my father thought was safe. They argued. A lot. Eventually, your father made him an offer, buyout. $75,000 for a 30% stake in a company that was already worth millions. That's insane. Yeah, my father tried to fight it, but your father had better lawyers. He buried him in paperwork, made it impossible to keep fighting without going bankrupt. So my father took the money and walked away. What happened to him? He drank himself to death, Liam said flatly. Took about 5 years. I was 12 when he died. Elena looked stricken. I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago. Still, Liam shrugged. After he died, I bounced around foster homes for a while, got into trouble, made bad choices. Eventually, I joined the military. That straightened me out for a bit. How long were you in? 8 years? Got out when I was 25. And then I met Sophie's mother, got married, had a kid. Thought I was going to have a normal life. He paused. Didn't work out that way. Elena waited. She left when Sophie was 6 months old, Liam said. Just packed a bag one day and disappeared. Haven't heard from her since. That must have been hard. It was terrifying. I didn't know how to take care of a baby. Didn't know how to do any of it. But I figured it out. Had to. And you've been doing it alone this whole time. Yeah. Elena shook her head. I don't know how you do it. You just do. There's no other option. She looked at him with something like admiration. You're a good father. I'm trying. No, you are. She paused. Sophie's lucky to have you. Liam felt something tighten in his chest. Thanks. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Elena said, Why didn't you ever come forward about the stake? Because I didn't want it. I didn't want anything to do with this company or my father's legacy or any of it. I just wanted to raise my daughter and stay out of the spotlight. So what changed? You. She blinked. Me? Yeah, I saw what Marcus was doing, saw how hard you were fighting, and I realized that if I didn't do something, you were going to lose. Not because you weren't good enough, but because people like him don't care about what's right. They only care about winning. He met her eyes. I couldn't let that happen. Elena's expression softened. You barely know me. I know enough. You keep saying that, but what does that even mean? Liam thought about how to answer. It means I've spent the last 7 years trying to do the right thing, trying to be the kind of person my daughter can look up to. And when I saw you fighting for something you believed in, even when everyone was against you, he stopped. I guess I wanted to help. Elena's eyes were bright again. You're a good man, Liam Carter. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it. He didn't know what to say to that. So he changed the subject. What are you going to do about Marcus? Elena sighed. I don't know. He's not going to back down. Not after today. Then we don't give him the chance. We? You're not doing this alone anymore. She looked at him. You don't have to stay involved. You've already done more than enough. I'm involved whether I like it or not. Marcus knows who I am now. He's going to come after me too. Exactly. Which is why you should walk away before it gets worse. Not happening. Liam, Elena. He leaned forward. I didn't do this to make a grand gesture and then disappear. I did it because I believe you can save this company. But you can't do it while constantly watching your back. So let me watch it for you. She stared at him. You're serious? Completely? Why? Because someone should. Elena laughed, and this time it was genuine. You're insane. Probably. She shook her head, but she was smiling now. Okay, fine, but if we're doing this, I need you to promise me something. What? Don't lie to me, not about anything. If there's something I need to know about your past, about the company, about Marcus, tell me. Liam hesitated. There were things he hadn't told her, things he probably never would, but he could give her this much. I promise. Good. She stood up. Now let's get out of here before someone decides to call security. You're the CEO. You can't get kicked out of your own building. After today? I'm not sure about that. They walked out of the conference room together. Elena's assistant was hovering near the elevator, looking anxious. Is everything okay? She asked. It's fine, Rachel. Elena smiled. Better than fine, actually. Rachel looked between the two of them, confused. Should I reschedule the afternoon meetings? Cancel them. I need the rest of the day to figure out what the hell just happened. Rachel nodded and scurried off. In the elevator, Elena leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. I can't believe that just happened. Which part? All of it. She opened her eyes. You know Marcus is going to spin this, right? Make it look like I orchestrated the whole thing. Let him. We have the truth on our side. The truth doesn't always win. No, but it's a good place to start. The elevator doors opened. They walked through the lobby and out into the sunlight. Liam's car was parked at the curb. Elena stopped. I should probably drive myself home. Give you a break. I'm still on the clock. Liam, you just became a major shareholder in my company. I think we're past the employer-employee thing. Maybe, but I made a commitment. Let me see it through, she smiled. Stubborn. You have no idea. They got in the car. Liam pulled into traffic. After a few minutes, Elena said, Where are we going? Where do you want to go? She thought about it. Somewhere quiet. I know a place. He drove them out of the city toward the river, found a small park with a view of the water, parked, and got out. They walked along the path in silence. The afternoon sun was warm, the air smelled like fresh grass, and for the first time in days, Liam felt like he could breathe. Elena stopped at a bench overlooking the river and sat down. Liam sat beside her. Thank you, she said quietly. For today. For everything. You already said that. I know, but I don't think I really meant it before. I was in shock. She turned to face him. You saved me, Liam, and I don't just mean the company. You reminded me that there are still people who do the right thing, even when it costs them. It hasn't cost me anything yet. It will. Marcus won't let this go. Then we'll deal with it. She smiled. You keep saying we. Is that a problem? No. It's just new. They sat there for a while watching the river. Liam's phone buzzed, a text from Mrs. Brennan. Sophie wants to know if you're bringing dinner or if I should feed her. He smiled and texted back. I'll be home in an hour. Thanks for watching her. Elena glanced over. Your daughter? Yeah, I need to get going soon. Of course. She stood up. I should let you go. They walked back to the car. The drive back to Elena's building was quiet, but not uncomfortable. When Liam pulled up to the curb, Elena didn't get out right away. Liam? Yeah? What happens now? I mean, really, you own a third of this company. Are you going to want a say in how it's run? No, that's your job. But I'm serious. I don't want to run a company. I just wanted to make sure the right person did. She looked at him. And you think that's me? I know it is. Elena shook her head. I don't understand you. Join the club. She laughed and got out of the car. But before she closed the door, she leaned back in. Same time tomorrow? You still want me to drive you? Of course. You're the only person I trust right now. Liam felt something shift in his chest. Okay. Same time. She smiled and shut the door. He watched her walk into the building, then drove home. Sophie was waiting at the window when he pulled up. She ran out to meet him, throwing her arms around his waist. Dad, you're late. I know, sweetheart. Sorry. Mrs. Brennan said I could have pizza if you said it was okay. Pizza sounds great. She grinned and dragged him inside. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam sat on the couch and stared at the ceiling. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello? Mr. Carter? Marcus Hale's voice was cold. We need to talk. Liam didn't respond. You made a mistake today, Marcus continued. A big one. And I'm going to make sure you regret it. Is that a threat? It's a promise. I don't know what game you're playing, but it ends now. Withdraw your claim, or I'll bury you. Good luck with that. I'm serious. So am I. There was a long pause. Then Marcus said, You have no idea who you're dealing with. Yeah, Liam said quietly. I do. He hung up, and for the first time in years, Liam Carter felt the old fire reignite. This was far from over. Marcus wasn't bluffing. The next morning, Liam woke up to find a black sedan parked across the street from his apartment. Two men inside, both wearing suits, both watching his building. He stood at the window with his coffee, watching them watch him, and felt the familiar weight of surveillance settle over his shoulders. Sophie came padding out of her room in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Dad? Who are those people? Liam let the curtain fall back into place. Nobody, sweetheart. Just some guys who got lost. She shrugged and headed to the kitchen. Can I have waffles? Sure. He made her breakfast, got her ready for school, and walked her to the bus stop like always. The sedan followed them at a distance. Liam didn't acknowledge it, just kissed Sophie goodbye, watched the bus pull away, and walked back to his apartment. The sedan was still there when he left for work. Elena noticed something was wrong the moment she got in the car. Liam could tell by the way her eyes flicked to his face in the rearview mirror, the way her greeting came out uncertain. Morning. Morning, he said. You okay? Fine. You don't look fine. He pulled into traffic. Marcus sent someone to watch my apartment. Elena went still. What? Two guys in a black sedan, been there since about 6 this morning. She stopped. That's harassment. We can file a restraining order. It won't matter. He's just testing boundaries, seeing what I'll do. And what are you going to do? Nothing. She leaned forward. Liam, if he's threatening you, he's not threatening me, not yet. He's just watching. That's still not okay. No, but it's expected. Elena sat back, frustration clear on her face. This is my fault. I should have seen this coming. It's not your fault. Marcus was always going to retaliate. We just gave him a target. Yeah, you. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. Elena. No, you stepped up for me. The least I can do is make sure you're protected. Liam didn't argue, partly because she was right, but mostly because he could hear the determination in her voice. She was going to fight for him whether he wanted her to or not. They spent the morning at headquarters. Elena had back-to-back meetings, damage control from the board vote, reassuring investors that the leadership shakeup was under control. Liam stayed close, watching the hallways, the exits, the people who got too close. Around noon, Elena's lawyer arrived. Catherine Mendez, mid-40s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She shook Liam's hand with a grip that could crack walnuts. So you're the mystery shareholder. That's me. You've caused quite a stir. Wasn't the plan. Catherine smiled. The best moves never are. She sat down across from him in Elena's office. Let's talk about your security situation. Liam filled her in. The sedan, the surveillance, Marcus's late-night phone call. Catherine took notes. Has he made any explicit threats? He said he'd bury me. That's vague enough to be deniable. She tapped her pen against her notepad. But the surveillance is a problem. We can file for a restraining order, but it'll take time. And Marcus has resources. He'll drag it out. So what do you suggest? Document everything. Times, locations, license plates, build a case. And in the meantime, be careful. I'm always careful. Catherine's eyes narrowed. You sound like someone who's dealt with this before. Liam didn't respond. She studied him for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll start the paperwork. But, Mr. Carter, if things escalate, and I mean at all, you call me immediately. Don't try to handle it yourself. Understood. After Catherine left, Elena paced her office. I don't like this. Marcus is escalating faster than I thought he would. He's scared. People do stupid things when they're scared. That doesn't make me feel better. Liam leaned against the window. What else is he likely to do? Elena stopped pacing. He'll go after your credibility. Try to prove you're not really Thomas Carter's heir or that the documents are forged. He'll dig into your background, look for anything he can use. Let him. Liam, I'm serious. If there's anything in your past, there's nothing he can use. She didn't look convinced. You were in the military. You said you made bad choices before that. If Marcus finds something, he won't. How can you be sure? Because Liam had spent years making sure his tracks were covered. Because the things he'd done after the military, the jobs he'd taken to make ends meet before Sophie was born, none of it was on any official record. He'd been careful, paranoid even. But he couldn't tell Elena that. I just am, he said. She crossed her arms. You're hiding something. Everyone's hiding something. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. They stared at each other. Then Elena sighed and sat down at her desk. Fine, but if this blows up in our faces, don't say I didn't warn you. Noted. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and frowned. It's the board chairman. I have to take this. Liam nodded and stepped out of the office. He walked the perimeter of the floor, checking exits, watching the staff. Most of them ignored him. A few threw curious glances. One woman, young, probably an intern, smiled as he passed. He didn't smile back. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You should have stayed in the shadows, Carter. Now you're going to lose everything. Liam stared at the message, deleted it, kept walking. When he got back to Elena's office, she was off the phone, staring at her computer screen with an expression he couldn't quite read. What's wrong? She turned the screen toward him. Marcus just called an emergency shareholder meeting tomorrow morning. What's the agenda? Challenging the validity of your claim. Liam felt his jaw tighten. That was fast. He's not wasting time. Elena closed the laptop. He's going to argue that the clause is outdated, that it was nullified when my father bought out yours, that you don't have the legal standing to vote. Can he do that? He can try. Whether it'll work is another question. What do you think? Elena leaned back in her chair. Honestly, I don't know. The law's on your side, but Marcus has influence. If he can convince enough people that you're a fraud, it won't matter what the documents say. So what do? We fight. We bring every piece of evidence we have, and we make it impossible for him to deny. Liam nodded. Then let's do that. Elena looked at him. You're not worried? Of course I'm worried, but worrying doesn't change anything. She smiled faintly. You're surprisingly calm for someone who's about to have their entire life scrutinized. I've been through worse. Have you? He met her eyes. Yeah, I have. The silence stretched. Then Elena stood up. Come on, we've got work to do. They spent the rest of the afternoon preparing. Catherine came back with a stack of legal briefs. They went over every document, every clause, every possible angle Marcus could use to attack the claim. By the time the sun started setting, Liam's head was pounding. Elena rubbed her eyes. We should call it a night. Agreed. They packed up and headed down to the car. The parking garage was quiet, their footsteps echoing off the concrete. Liam scanned the space as they walked, old instincts kicking in. He saw the man before Elena did, leaning against a pillar near Liam's car. Mid-30s, expensive suit, hands in his pockets. Too casual, too comfortable. Liam's hand moved to Elena's arm, stopping her. What? She asked. Stay behind me. The man pushed off the pillar and walked toward them, smiling. Miss Ross, Mr. Carter. Mind if we talk? Who are you? Elena asked. Name's Derek Grant. I work for Marcus Hale. Then no, we don't mind, because we're not talking to you. Derek's smile widened. That's a shame, because I think you'll want to hear what I have to say. Liam stepped forward. She said no. Derek held up his hands. Easy. I'm just here to deliver a message. Deliver it and leave. Mr. Hale wants you to reconsider your position. He's willing to make you an offer, a generous one. Not interested, Liam said. You haven't heard the offer yet. Don't need to. Derek's smile faded. You're making a mistake. Mr. Hale is trying to be reasonable, but if you insist on being difficult, things are going to get unpleasant. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Derek looked at Elena. Ms. Ross, you seem like a smart woman. Do you really want to tie yourself to someone you barely know? Someone whose entire claim is based on dusty old paperwork? Elena stepped forward. Get out of here. Now. Derek shrugged. Your funeral. He walked away, footsteps echoing. Liam watched him go, every muscle tense. Elena touched his arm. Are you okay? Fine. That was intimidation, standard playbook. It worked. I'm intimidated. Liam looked at her. You want to back out? No, but I want to know what we're really up against. Marcus is desperate. That makes him dangerous. How dangerous? Liam thought about the men following him that morning, the late-night phone call, the message on his phone, Derek Grant showing up in a parking garage. Dangerous enough, he said. They got in the car and drove in silence. When Liam pulled up to Elena's building, she didn't get out right away. I need to ask you something, she said. Okay. If this gets worse, if Marcus really comes after you, are you going to walk away? Liam met her eyes in the mirror. No. Why not? You have a daughter. You have a life. Why risk it for a company that isn't even yours? It is mine. Legally. That's not what I mean. Liam turned in his seat to face her. I spent most of my life letting other people push me around. My father got screwed over and I did nothing. I made bad choices, hurt people, walked away when things got hard. But then Sophie was born and I realized I didn't want to be that person anymore. I wanted to be someone she could be proud of. He paused. So no, I'm not walking away, not this time. Elena's eyes were bright. You're a better man than you think you are. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it yet. She opened the door. Same time tomorrow? Yeah. She smiled and got out. Liam watched her disappear into the building, then drove home. The black sedan was still parked across the street. He ignored it, went inside, made dinner for Sophie, helped her with her homework, read her a story before bed. Normal. Safe. The life he'd built. But as he sat on the couch that night, staring at the door, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to fall apart. His phone rang. Catherine. We have a problem, she said. What kind of problem? Marcus just filed a motion to freeze your shares pending the outcome of tomorrow's meeting. If the judge grants it, you won't be able to vote. Liam's grip tightened on the phone. Can he do that? He's claiming you're a fraudulent claimant. It's a long shot, but if he can convince a judge to sign off on it, even temporarily, it buys him time. When will we know? Hearing's at 8 tomorrow morning, 2 hours before the shareholder meeting. Will you be there? Of course, but Liam, you need to be prepared for the possibility that this doesn't go our way. I am. Good. I'll call you after the hearing. She hung up. Liam sat there in the dark, thinking. Marcus was moving faster than expected, throwing everything at them, trying to overwhelm their defenses. It was smart, aggressive, exactly what Liam would have done if their positions were reversed. But Marcus had made one mistake. He'd underestimated how far Liam was willing to go. The next morning, Liam dropped Sophie off early and drove to the courthouse. Catherine was waiting on the steps, briefcase in hand. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be. They went inside. The courtroom was small, institutional. A handful of people scattered across the benches. Marcus's lawyer was already there, flipping through documents. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The hearing lasted 37 minutes. Marcus's lawyer argued that Liam's claim was based on outdated documentation, that the shareholder agreement had been superseded by subsequent contracts, that allowing him to vote would set a dangerous precedent. Catherine countered with the original incorporation documents, legal precedents, and a breakdown of why every one of Marcus's arguments was wrong. The judge listened, asked a few questions, then leaned back in his chair. This is an unusual case, he said, but based on the evidence presented, I don't see grounds to freeze the shares. The shareholder agreement is clear. Unless new evidence emerges that directly contradicts Mr. Carter's claim, his voting rights stand. Marcus's lawyer started to object, but the judge cut him off. Motion denied. We're adjourned. Catherine turned to Liam and grinned. We won. Liam exhaled. Yeah, we did. They walked out of the courthouse. Marcus was waiting by the steps, arms crossed. This isn't over, he said. Yeah, it is, Liam replied. Marcus stepped closer. You think you're clever, playing the hero. But you're in over your head. Maybe, but I'm still standing. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Not for long. He walked away. Catherine watched him go. He's not going to stop. I know. So what's your plan? Liam thought about it. Make sure he doesn't have anything left to fight with. How? By ending this today. They drove to headquarters. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for 10. Elena was already in the conference room, pacing. Did you win? She asked the moment Liam walked in. Yeah. She sagged with relief. Thank God I've been losing my mind. Marcus is going to try something else. He's not done. I know, but at least we made it this far. The board members started filing in. Some looked nervous, some looked angry. Marcus came in last, his lawyer beside him. The meeting started exactly at 10. This time, Marcus didn't waste time with pleasantries. He stood up and addressed the room. We're here because Mr. Carter has made a claim that, frankly, defies belief. He's asking us to accept that he's the rightful heir to a 30% stake in this company based on documents that are decades old. I've spent the last 2 days investigating his background, and I found some very interesting things. Liam felt every eye in the room turn to him. Marcus pulled out a folder. Did you know that Liam Carter has no verifiable employment history prior to 7 years ago? No tax records, no official documentation. It's like he didn't exist before his daughter was born. Elena glanced at Liam. He kept his expression neutral. That's because, Marcus continued, Mr. Carter has been very careful to erase his past. Which makes me wonder, what is he hiding? That's speculation, Catherine said sharply. Not evidence. Is it? Marcus pulled out a photo, slid it across the table. This is Liam Carter, photographed 6 months before his daughter was born, working security for a private military contractor in Eastern Europe. Liam's stomach dropped. Elena picked up the photo, stared at it, looked at Liam. Is this true? She asked quietly. Liam didn't answer. Marcus smiled. Mr. Carter wasn't just working security. He was part of a team that provided protection for some very questionable clients. Arms dealers, war profiteers, people who made their money off human suffering. That's enough, Catherine said. No, it's not. Marcus leaned forward. This man is asking us to trust him, to believe he has the company's best interests at heart. But how can we, when he's been lying about who he is from the start? The room erupted. Board members shouting, demanding answers. Elena just sat there, staring at the photo. Liam stood up. You want the truth? Fine. I did work for a contractor. I did things I'm not proud of. But that was before Sophie, before I decided to walk away from that life. And we're just supposed to take your word for it? Marcus shot back. No. You're supposed to look at what I've done since. I've raised my daughter, kept my head down, stayed out of trouble. I didn't come here looking for a fight. I came here to stop you from destroying something that matters. To who? Elena? Or yourself? Liam met Marcus's eyes. To everyone who depends on this company, the employees, the investors, the people who believe it stands for something more than profit. Marcus laughed. You're delusional. Maybe, but at least I'm honest about it. The room went quiet. Then one of the board members spoke up. Chen, the older man who'd voted against Elena before. Mr. Carter, why should we trust you? Liam looked at him. Because I'm not asking for power. I'm not asking for control. I'm just asking you to let the right person run this company. And that's Elena. Chen studied him. You really believe that? Yeah, I do. Another board member, the woman who'd been sympathetic to Elena, nodded slowly. I think he's telling the truth. Marcus slammed his hand on the table. This is insane. You're going to take the word of a mercenary over mine? You haven't given us much reason to trust you either, Marcus, the woman said. Marcus's face went red. Fine, let's vote, right now. All in favor of invalidating Carter's claim? 5 hands went up, Marcus's core supporters. All opposed? 7 hands. Marcus stared. What? Chen spoke quietly. I've been on this board a long time, Marcus, and I've seen a lot of people come through here. Some of them were good, some weren't. But I've never seen someone walk away from wealth and power just to do the right thing. Until now. He looked at Liam. Your father was a good man. I knew him, and I think he'd be proud of you. Liam felt something crack in his chest. Marcus stood up. This is a mistake, All of you. You'll regret this. Maybe, Chen said, but at least we'll regret it honestly. Marcus stormed out, the room slowly emptied. Elena sat there, still holding the photo. Why didn't you tell me? She asked. Because it doesn't matter. It does to me. Liam sat down across from her. I was a different person back then. I did things I'm not proud of, things I can't take back. But when Sophie was born, I looked at her and realized I didn't want to be that person anymore. So I walked away, started over, became someone she could be proud of. Elena's eyes searched his face. Do you regret it? Walking away? No. Best decision I ever made. She set the photo down. I believe you. You sure? Yeah. She smiled faintly. Because if you were still that person, you would have taken Marcus's offer and walked away with the money. But you didn't. You stayed. And that tells me everything I need to know. Liam felt the tightness in his chest ease. Thanks. Don't thank me yet. We still have a lot of work to do. I know. Elena stood up. Come on. Let's get out of here before someone changes their mind. They walked out together. In the elevator, Elena leaned against the wall and laughed. What? Liam asked. I just realized something. A week ago, you were my driver. Now you're my business partner. Technically, I'm still your driver. Not anymore. As of today, you're officially a board member. Liam blinked. What? You own 30% of the company. That comes with a seat at the table. I don't want a seat at the table. Too bad. You've got one. The elevator doors opened. They walked out into the lobby. What happens now? Liam asked. Elena thought about it. Now we rebuild. Marcus is out. His supporters are going to fall in line or leave. And we get to figure out what kind of company we want to be. Sounds like a lot of work. It is. But I think it'll be worth it. They stepped out into the sunlight. For the first time in days, Liam felt like he could breathe. His phone buzzed. Sophie. Dad, can we get ice cream tonight? He smiled and texted back. Yeah, kiddo, ice cream sounds perfect. Elena glanced at him. Everything okay? Yeah, just my daughter. You should go, spend time with her. You sure? Absolutely, you've earned it. Liam nodded. Thanks for everything. Same to you. He got in the car and drove home. The black sedan was gone. That night he took Sophie for ice cream. She got chocolate chip, he got vanilla. They sat outside on a bench watching the sunset and she told him about her day. Dad? Yeah? Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. Why do you ask? You've been smiling more. You look, I don't know, less tired. Liam looked at her. This little person who'd changed his entire world. Yeah, sweetheart, I'm happy. She grinned. Good. You deserve it. He pulled her close. So do you. They finished their ice cream and walked home, hand in hand. And for the first time in years, Liam Carter felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The peace lasted exactly 4 days. On Thursday morning, Liam was making breakfast when his phone rang. Elena. He answered on the second ring. We have a problem. He turned off the stove. What kind? The kind where Marcus just leaked your military contractor history to the press. Liam closed his eyes. How bad? Front page of the business section. Mystery heirs dark past revealed. They're calling you a war profiteer. Sophie walked into the kitchen, still in her pajamas. Liam forced a smile and pointed to the table. She sat down, oblivious. I'll be there in an hour, he said quietly. Liam, I'm sorry. I should have seen this coming. It's not your fault. It feels like it is. He hung up and finished making Sophie's pancakes. She ate them while chattering about a field trip her class was taking next week. He listened, nodded at the right moments, and tried not to think about what was waiting for him at headquarters. After he dropped her at school, he picked up a copy of the paper from a corner store. The article was worse than he'd expected. They dug up everything. Names of contractors he'd worked for, locations he'd been deployed, even a grainy photo of him in tactical gear standing outside a compound in Kosovo. The piece didn't accuse him of anything illegal, but the implication was clear. This wasn't a man who should be trusted with $1 billion company. When he pulled up to headquarters, there were reporters waiting outside. 3 cameras, half a dozen people with notebooks. They swarmed the car the moment he parked. Mr. Carter, Is it true you worked for Blackridge Security? Did you know your employer was under investigation for war crimes? How do you respond to allegations that you profited from conflict zones? Liam kept his head down and pushed through. One reporter shoved a microphone in his face. He knocked it aside harder than he meant to. The reporter stumbled back. "Hey, that's assault." "Sue me," Liam muttered. He made it inside. Elena was waiting by the elevators, her expression tight. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine." "You don't look fine." "I said I'm fine." The elevator doors closed. Elena studied him in the mirrored wall. "They're going to keep coming after you. You know that, right?" "Yeah. We need to get ahead of this. Put out a statement. Control the narrative." "I'm not making a statement." "Liam, I'm not." He met her eyes in the reflection. "Whatever I say, they'll twist it, make it worse. Better to just let it die." "It's not going to die. Not unless we give them something else to talk about." The elevator opened. They walked to her office. Catherine was already there, looking grim. "Have you seen the latest? The article?" "Yeah," Liam said. "Not the article. This." She turned her laptop around. It was a statement from Marcus Hale, posted an hour ago across every social media platform and sent to major news outlets. "I have grave concerns about the recent addition of Liam Carter to the Ross Industries board. While I respect the legal process, I believe shareholders deserve to know who they're trusting with their investments. Mr. Carter's past raises serious questions about his judgment and character. I'm calling for a full independent investigation into his background before he's allowed to participate in any corporate decisions." Liam read it twice. "He's good. I'll give him that." "He's backed us into a corner," Catherine said. "If we refuse the investigation, it looks like we're hiding something. If we agree, he'll drag it out for months and use every detail to undermine you." Elena paced the office. "Can we refuse?" "Technically, yes, but the optics are terrible." "So what do we do?" Catherine looked at Liam. "That depends on what's actually in your past. Is there anything they can find that we don't already know about?" Liam thought about it. The jobs he'd taken, the places he'd been. Most of it was buried under layers of non-disclosure agreements and classified contracts. But not all of it. "There's one thing," he said quietly. Both women stared at him. "What thing?" Elena asked. "A mission in Syria, 2015. I was part of a security detail protecting an oil executive. Things went bad. Really bad. 3 people died." Catherine leaned forward. "Were you responsible?" "No, but I was there, and the company I worked for buried the incident, paid off the families, erased the records. If Marcus digs deep enough, he'll find it." Elena's face had gone pale. "Were the deaths justified?" "We were ambushed. We returned fire. But one of the people who died was a civilian, a kid who got caught in the crossfire." Liam's voice was flat. "I didn't pull the trigger, but I was part of the team. That makes me complicit." The room went silent. Catherine recovered first. "Was there an investigation?" "Internal only. They cleared us, said it was unavoidable." "Do you believe that?" Liam met her eyes. "No." Elena sat down heavily. "This is bad." "Yeah. If Marcus finds this, he'll destroy you with it." "I know." Catherine closed her laptop. "Then we have 2 options. We can get ahead of it, release the information ourselves with your side of the story. Or we can wait and hope he doesn't find it." "He'll find it," Liam said. "He's too motivated not to." "Then we go public first. Take away his ammunition." Elena shook her head. "That could backfire. The media will tear him apart." "They're already tearing me apart," Liam pointed out. "At least this way, I control the story." "What's your story?" Catherine asked. "What do you want to say?" Liam thought about it. About the kid who'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. About the nightmares he'd had for months afterward. About the way he'd looked at Sophie after she was born and decided he could never be part of something like that again. "The truth," he said. "I was there. People died. I carry that with me every day. And it's the reason I walked away." Catherine nodded slowly. "That could work. It's honest, humanizing, shows growth, or it makes him look like a killer," Elena said. "I am a killer," Liam said quietly. "I just don't do it anymore." Elena flinched. "I'm sorry," Liam continued. "I should have told you all of this before, but I didn't want it to matter. I wanted to be someone different." "You are someone different," Elena said. Am I? Because it feels like the past is catching up no matter what I do. She stood and crossed to him. Liam, listen to me. What you did back then doesn't define who you are now. You made a choice to walk away to build a better life. That takes courage. It takes cowardice. I ran. No, you survived. There's a difference. He wanted to believe her, wanted to accept that he'd changed, that the man he was now bore no resemblance to the man he'd been. But looking at the concern in her eyes, the fear that she was trying to hide, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd brought all of this down on her. Maybe I should step back, he said. Withdraw my claim. Let you run the company without me dragging you down. Absolutely not. Elena, no. Her voice was firm. You saved this company. You saved me. I'm not letting you walk away because Marcus Hale is playing dirty. This isn't just about him. This is about what's right for the company. And you think abandoning me is right? I think protecting you is right. Elena's eyes flashed. I don't need protecting. I need a partner I can trust, and that's you. Liam stared at her. Why? After everything you've learned, why do you still trust me? Because you told me the truth. You didn't have to. You could have kept hiding it, let Marcus expose you, played the victim. But you didn't. You owned it. She paused. That's the kind of person I want on my side. Catherine cleared her throat. As touching as this is, we need to make a decision. Do we go public or not? Elena looked at Liam. It's your call. He thought about Sophie, about what would happen when she was old enough to search his name online and found articles about Syria, about the kid who died, about all the things he'd tried to leave behind. Then he thought about Marcus, about letting him win by default. We go public, Liam said, but I write the statement myself. Catherine nodded. When? Today, before Marcus has time to spin this his way. They spent the next 3 hours drafting a press release. Liam wrote most of it. Catherine polished the legal language, and Elena insisted they include a line about his commitment to transparency and accountability. By 2 p.m, it was ready. The statement went out at 3. I want to address recent questions about my past. Between 2010 and 2016, I worked in private security, including assignments in conflict zones. During that time, I was involved in an incident in Syria where civilians were killed. While I was cleared of wrongdoing, I carry the weight of that day with me. It's the reason I left that industry and chose a different path. I'm not proud of everything I've done, but I'm committed to being honest about it. I believe people deserve second chances, and I'm grateful for mine. I'm honored to serve on the Ross Industries board and will work every day to earn the trust that's been placed in me. The response was immediate. Half the internet called him brave. The other half called him a murderer. Elena's phone didn't stop ringing. Investors, board members, reporters, everyone wanted a comment. She handled it with more grace than Liam thought possible, repeating the same message over and over. Mr. Carter has been transparent about his past, and we stand by him. By evening, Liam was exhausted. He picked Sophie up from her after-school program and took her home. She was unusually quiet in the car. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? Some kids at school said you were on the news. His hands tightened on the wheel. Yeah, I was. Why? He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She looked worried. It's complicated, but basically some people are asking questions about things I did a long time ago. Before you were born. Bad things? He pulled over, turned in his seat to face her. Yeah, some bad things, but I'm not that person anymore. You know that, right? She nodded. You're a good dad. I try to be. You are. She reached forward and grabbed his hand. I don't care what people say. You're good. Liam felt his throat tighten. Thanks, kiddo. Can we go home now? I'm hungry. He laughed and started driving again. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam sat on the couch and finally let himself feel it. The weight of the last 2 weeks, the fear that he'd destroyed everything he'd built, the exhaustion of constantly looking over his shoulder. His phone buzzed. Text from Elena. You doing okay? He stared at the message, typed back, define okay. 3 dots appeared. Then, fair. Want to talk? Not really. Okay, but if you change your mind, I'm here. He set the phone down, stared at the ceiling. 5 minutes later, it rang. Elena. He answered. I said I didn't want to talk. I know, but I need to say something, and I need you to listen. Okay. You're not alone in this. I know it feels like you are, but you're not. Whatever happens, we face it together. Got it? Liam closed his eyes. Yeah, I got it. Good. Now go get some sleep. You sound like hell. You're a real charmer, you know that? She laughed. Good night, Liam. Good night. He hung up and realized he was smiling. The next morning, Marcus made his move. Liam was halfway to headquarters when Catherine called. Emergency board meeting. Marcus is forcing a vote on your removal. Can he do that? He's arguing that your statement proves you're a liability. Half the board is spooked. How bad? Bad. We might not have the votes. Liam's jaw tightened. When's the meeting? 1 hour. He drove faster. When he arrived, the conference room was already full. Marcus sat at the head of the table, looking smug. Elena was beside him, her expression carefully neutral. The rest of the board filled in the seats around them. Liam took the empty chair at the end. Marcus smiled. Glad you could join us, Mr. Carter. I was just explaining to the board why I believe your presence is detrimental to the company's reputation. I'm sure you were. Your statement yesterday was illuminating. You admitted to being involved in the death of civilians. I admitted to being present when civilians were killed. There's a difference. Not to our shareholders. They're calling for your removal. Some of them, not all. Marcus pulled out a folder. I have emails from 15 major investors, all expressing concern, all questioning whether we should keep you on the board. 15 out of how many? 100? 200? Enough to matter. Elena spoke up. Marcus, we've been over this. Liam has been transparent. He's answered every question. Transparency doesn't erase culpability. Neither does a witch hunt. Marcus turned to the board. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor of removing Liam Carter from the board due to reputational concerns? 4 hands went up. All opposed? 6 hands. Marcus stared. You can't be serious. Can't. Chen spoke from the far end of the table. I'm completely serious. Mr. Carter made a mistake. A terrible one. But he owned it. That's more than I can say for most people in this room. Another board member nodded. I agree. We all have things in our past we're not proud of. The question is what we do with them. Liam chose honesty. I respect that. Marcus's face was turning red. This is insane. You're putting the company at risk for someone you barely know. We know enough, Elena said quietly. And we trust him. Marcus slammed his hands on the table. Fine. But when this blows up in your faces, don't come crying to me. He stormed out. The room was silent for a moment. Then Chen started laughing. That man really doesn't know when to quit. The tension broke. A few other board members chuckled. Elena met Liam's eyes across the table and smiled. After the meeting, they walked to her office. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just tired of fighting. I know the feeling. She poured 2 cups of coffee and handed him one. They sat in silence for a few minutes. Liam? Yeah? Why did you really come forward? About the claim, about everything. You could have stayed hidden. He thought about how to answer. Because I was tired of hiding, tired of being afraid that someone would find out who I used to be. I thought if I came forward on my terms, maybe I could control it. Maybe I could be honest for once. He paused. Turns out honesty is messier than I thought. Elena smiled. Yeah, it usually is. Do you regret it? Letting me stay? Not for a second. Even with all the drama? Especially with all the drama. She leaned back in her chair. You know what I realized? This company has been playing it safe for too long. Avoiding risk, avoiding controversy, avoiding anything that might make waves. But that's not how my parents built this place. They took chances. They believed in people. And yeah, sometimes they got burned. But they also built something real. She looked at him. You remind me of that. Of what this company used to stand for. Liam didn't know what to say. So no, Elena continued. I don't regret it. And I'm not going to. No matter what Marcus throws at us. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't. This is just the beginning. He showed it to Elena. She frowned. That's from Marcus. Probably. We should report it. That's harassment. Let him send his little threats. I'm done being scared of him. Elena studied him. You've changed. What do you mean? 2 weeks ago, you were just trying to keep your head down. Now you're picking fights with billionaires. I'm not picking fights. I'm just refusing to run. That's the same thing. Maybe, she smiled. I like this version of you better. Yeah? Yeah. They finished their coffee and got back to work. The rest of the day was meetings, calls, and damage control. By the time evening rolled around, Liam was dead on his feet. He picked up Sophie and took her to the park. She played on the swings while he sat on a bench, watching the sunset. His phone rang. Elena again. What's up? I just got a call from the investigative team Marcus hired. They want to interview you. When? Tomorrow morning. What do they want to know? Everything, your employment history, your military service, the Syria incident, all of it. Liam sighed. Fine, let's get it over with. You sure you're ready for this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Elena was quiet for a moment. You're braver than you think. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it. She paused. Get some rest tonight. Tomorrow's going to be rough. Yeah, I know. He hung up and watched Sophie run across the playground, laughing with another kid. She looked so happy, so free. Whatever came next, he'd face it. For her, for Elena, for the chance to finally stop running and stand his ground. The interview took place in a sterile office building downtown. 2 investigators, both former FBI, both with the kind of dead-eyed stare that came from seeing too much. They asked him about everything. Names, dates, missions, casualties. They wanted details he'd spent years trying to forget. Liam answered every question, told them about Kosovo, about Syria, about the things he'd done and the things he'd witnessed. He didn't sugarcoat it, didn't make excuses, just laid it all out and let them judge. It took 4 hours. When it was over, one of the investigators leaned back in his chair. That's quite a record, Mr. Carter. Yeah. You ever regret it? Every day. The investigator nodded. We'll be in touch. Liam left. Elena was waiting in the lobby. How'd it go? She asked. About as well as you'd expect. Want to talk about it? Not really. They walked to the car in silence. Elena got in the passenger seat this time instead of the back. Liam noticed but didn't comment. Where to? He asked. I don't know, somewhere quiet. He drove them to the river. They sat on a bench and watched the water. You don't have to do this, Elena said after a while. Do what? Stay. Keep fighting. You've already done more than anyone could have asked. I'm not doing it because anyone asked. I'm doing it because I want to. Why? He thought about it. Because for the first time in years, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Something bigger than just surviving. Elena looked at him. You matter, Liam. Not just what you do. You. He met her eyes. There was something in her expression he couldn't quite name. Thanks, he said quietly. They sat there until the sun went down. And for those few moments, the world felt still. Like they'd found a pocket of peace in the middle of the storm. But storms don't last forever. And neither does peace. The investigator's report came back 3 days later. Catherine called Liam at 6 in the morning. They cleared you. Liam was making coffee. He nearly dropped the pot. What? The investigation. They found no evidence of wrongdoing. Said everything you did was within the parameters of your contract, and that the Syria incident was unavoidable. She paused. They also noted that you've been a model citizen for the past 7 years. Clean record, no debts, no criminal activity. They recommended the board take no action. Liam sat down heavily. Marcus isn't going to accept that. He doesn't have a choice. The report's definitive. Then he'll find something else. Probably, but for now, you're in the clear. After she hung up, Liam just sat there. He should have felt relieved, vindicated, but all he felt was tired. Sophie wandered out of her room, rubbing her eyes. Dad? Who was that? Work stuff, sweetheart. You look sad. He pulled her into a hug. I'm not sad, just thinking. About what? About how lucky I am to have you. She squeezed him tighter. I'm lucky too. When he dropped her at school, she turned back at the gate. Dad? Yeah? Whatever's going on, It's going to be okay. I know it. He smiled. How do you know? Because you always make things okay. She ran off before he could respond. Liam drove to headquarters with her words echoing in his head. You always make things okay. He wanted to believe that, wanted to believe he was capable of being the person she thought he was. When he arrived, Elena was waiting in her office. She looked like she hadn't slept. You heard? She asked. Yeah, so it's over. Marcus lost. For now. She frowned. Why don't you sound happy? Because I know him. He's not going to stop just because an investigation cleared me. He'll keep coming. Then we keep fighting. Liam shook his head. Elena, I need to tell you something. Okay? He took a breath. I think you should buy me out. She stared at him. What? My stake. 30%. I'll sell it back to the company. You can distribute it to the other shareholders, stabilize the board, get things back to normal. Why would you do that? Because this isn't my world. I don't belong here. I'm a liability. Elena stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. Don't you dare. Elena, no, you don't get to do this. You don't get to save me and then walk away like it didn't matter. It's not about walking away. It's about doing what's right for the company. What's right for the company is having someone on the board who actually gives a damn. And that's you. I'm causing more problems than I'm solving. You're causing Marcus problems. There's a difference. Liam looked at her, really looked at her. She was exhausted, running on fumes, fighting battles on every front. And he was adding to that burden. I don't want to make your life harder, he said quietly. Then don't leave. That would make it harder. Why do you care so much? Elena's expression softened. Because you're the first person in years who's been honest with me, who's fought for something without expecting anything in return. And because... She stopped. Because what? She looked away. Because I trust you. And I don't trust many people. The words hung between them. Before Liam could respond, the office door burst open. Marcus strode in, his lawyer trailing behind. We need to talk, Marcus said. Elena's expression hardened. Get out of my office. Not until we settle this. There's nothing to settle. The investigation cleared Liam. You lost. Marcus smiled, and it was cold. Actually, I won. He tossed a folder onto Elena's desk. I've been busy the last few days, talked to some old friends, called in some favors. Turns out your father wasn't quite the saint you thought he was. Elena picked up the folder, opened it. Her face went pale. What is this? She whispered. Proof that Daniel Ross didn't just buy out Thomas Carter. He sabotaged him, spread rumors about his work, tanked his reputation, made sure no one would hire him. Your father destroyed Thomas Carter deliberately, and when Carter finally agreed to the buyout, your father paid him a fraction of what the stake was worth, knowing Carter had no other options. Liam felt something cold settle in his chest. Elena looked up. This is fake. It's not. Check the signatures, check the dates. It's all real. Marcus leaned forward. Your father was a ruthless businessman who crushed his partner to build his empire, and you've been running a company built on lies. Get out, Elena said, her voice shaking. Not yet, because here's the deal. You sign over majority control to me and I bury this. No one ever has to know what Daniel Ross really was. And if I refuse, then I release it. Every document, every email, every piece of evidence showing that Ross Industries was built on fraud and betrayal. Your father's legacy gets destroyed. Your company's reputation goes with it. He smiled. Your choice. Elena's hands were trembling. Liam could see her trying to hold it together, trying to process what she'd just learned. He stepped forward. How much? Marcus turned to him. What? How much do you want for those documents? They're not for sale. Everything's for sale. Name your price. Marcus studied him. You can't afford it. Try me. $5 million. The number hung in the air. Elena gasped. Liam, no. Done, Liam said. Marcus blinked. You're serious? Completely. I'll wire the money today. You hand over every copy of those documents and sign an NDA saying you'll never mention them again. Where the hell are you going to get $5 million? Liam met his eyes. My stake is worth about $30 million. I'll liquidate part of it. You'd give up that much just to protect her? Yeah, I would. Marcus shook his head. You're insane. Probably. Do we have a deal or not? Marcus looked at Elena, then back at Liam. Fine, but I want the money by end of business today. You'll have it. Marcus grabbed the folder and walked out, his lawyer scrambling to keep up. The moment the door closed, Elena turned on Liam. What did you just do? What I had to. You can't give him $5 million. Watch me. Liam, that's your daughter's future, your security. You can't just, I can. And I did. He sat down. Elena, those documents would have destroyed you, destroyed everything your parents built. I wasn't going to let that happen. But $5 million is just money. It doesn't matter. It does matter. You earned that. You fought for it. I fought for you, for the company. This is the same thing. Elena's eyes were wet. Why? Why would you do that for me? Liam looked at her. At this woman who'd carried the weight of an empire on her shoulders for nearly a decade, who'd trusted him when no one else would, who'd stood by him through every scandal, every revelation, every fight. Because you matter, he said simply. More than the money, more than the stake, more than any of it. Elena crossed to him and pulled him into a fierce hug. He could feel her shaking. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome. They stood like that for a long moment. When she finally pulled back, she was smiling through her tears. You're a good man, Liam Carter. I'm really not. You are. And one of these days, you're going to believe it. The money transfer happened that afternoon. Catherine handled the paperwork, grumbling the entire time about Liam being an idiot. Marcus took the money, handed over a hard drive with every file, and signed the NDA without a word. When it was done, Elena destroyed the hard drive personally, smashed it with a hammer in her office while Liam watched. That felt good, she said, breathing hard. I bet. She sat down. So what now? Now we figure out what kind of company we want to build. We. Yeah, we. Elena smiled. I like the sound of that. Over the next few weeks, things started to shift. Marcus resigned from the board, citing personal reasons. His allies followed. New board members were appointed, people Elena trusted, people who shared her vision for what Ross Industries could become. The company started changing too. They launched new initiatives, employee programs, community investments, things that prioritized people over profit. It wasn't easy. There were fights, disagreements, moments when Liam wondered if they were making a mistake. But slowly, it started to work. And somewhere in the middle of all that, something else started to shift too. It was small things at first. The way Elena would smile when Liam walked into a room. The way they'd started having lunch together most days, talking about everything and nothing. The way she'd started asking about Sophie, remembering details about her life. One evening, after a particularly brutal board meeting, Elena suggested they grab dinner. Liam agreed, thinking she meant a working dinner. She took him to a small Italian place near the river. No business talk, just conversation. She asked about his childhood, about the military, about what he wanted for Sophie's future. He asked about her parents, about what it was like growing up with that kind of pressure, about what she did when she wasn't working. I don't really do anything when I'm not working, she admitted. Work is kind of all I have. That sounds lonely. It is. She looked at him. But it's been less lonely lately. Liam's heart did something complicated. Yeah? Yeah, she smiled. You're easy to talk to. I like that. I'm really not. I barely say anything. Exactly. You listen. Most people don't. They finished dinner and walked along the river. The city lights reflected off the water, and for the first time in weeks, Liam felt like he could breathe. Liam? Elena said quietly. Yeah, I'm glad you stayed. I know it's been hard, but I'm glad. Me too. She slipped her hand into his. He looked down at their joined hands, then up at her face. She was watching him, nervous, hopeful. Is this okay? She asked. Yeah, he said. It's okay. They walked like that for a while, not saying anything, just being. When he dropped her off at her building, she hesitated before getting out. Do you want to come up? She asked. Just for coffee or tea or whatever. Liam wanted to. Wanted it more than he'd wanted anything in a long time. But he thought about Sophie, waiting at home, about the careful balance he'd built. I can't tonight, he said. Sophie's waiting. Elena nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. Of course. Another time. Yeah, another time. She got out of the car, but before she closed the door, she leaned back in. Liam? Yeah? I really like you, just so you know. He smiled. I really like you too. She grinned and shut the door. Liam drove home, his heart racing. When he got there, Sophie was waiting at the window. She ran out to meet him. Dad, you're smiling. Am I? Yeah, like a lot. Did something good happen? He picked her up and spun her around. Yeah, kiddo, something really good. That weekend, Liam did something he hadn't done in years. He took a day off, spent it entirely with Sophie. They went to the park, got ice cream, watched a movie, just the two of them. As they sat on the couch that night, Sophie leaned against him. Dad? Yeah? Are you happy now? Like really happy? He thought about it, about the company, about Elena, about the life he'd built. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and complicated and sometimes overwhelming, but it was his. And for the first time in years, he wasn't running from it. Yeah, he said. I think I am. Good, you deserve it. So do you. She hugged him tighter. We both do. Monday morning, Elena called him into her office. She looked nervous. Everything okay? He asked. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you something. Okay. She took a breath. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've been thinking about us, about what this is. Liam's heart started pounding. What is it? I don't know. That's the problem. I've never done this before. I've never had someone in my life who wasn't connected to work or the company or some kind of obligation. She looked at him. But with you, it's different, and I don't know what to do with that. What do you want to do with it? I want to see where it goes. But I'm scared. Of what? Of messing it up. Of losing you. Of ruining the best thing that's happened to me in years. Liam crossed the office and took her hands. Elena, you're not going to lose me, and you're not going to mess this up. How do you know? Because we're both too stubborn to let that happen. She laughed, and it was shaky. That's not very reassuring. It's the truth. She looked up at him. So what do? We take it slow. We figure it out as we go, and we don't put pressure on it to be perfect. I like perfect. I know, but perfect's boring, she smiled. You're right. I usually am. She punched his arm. Don't get cocky. Too late. They stood there, hands still joined, and Liam felt something settle into place. Like a piece of his life that had been missing finally clicked. Over the next few months, they fell into a rhythm. Dinners after work, walks by the river, quiet moments stolen between meetings. Liam introduced Elena to Sophie slowly, carefully. Coffee shop visits at first, then the park, then finally dinner at their apartment. Sophie liked her immediately. Elena was nervous and awkward and tried too hard, which Sophie found hilarious. By the end of the night, they were laughing together, and Liam felt his chest tighten with something that felt dangerously close to hope. She's nice, Dad, Sophie said after Elena left. I like her. Yeah? Yeah, she makes you smile. That's good. You think so? I know so. 6 months after the shareholder meeting that changed everything, Ross Industries announced record profits. The employee satisfaction scores were the highest they'd been in a decade. The new initiatives were working, and Elena was finally building something that felt like hers. She threw a celebration at headquarters, speeches, champagne, the whole thing. Liam stood in the back, watching her command the room, and felt proud. Afterward, when everyone had left, she found him on the roof terrace. Hiding? She asked. Just needed some air. She joined him at the railing. We did it. You did it. We did it, she corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. Sure you could have. No, I couldn't. She turned to face him. Liam, you saved me. In every way a person can be saved, and I don't know how to thank you for that. You don't have to thank me. I want to. She paused. I love you. I should have said it weeks ago, but I was scared. But I'm not scared anymore. I love you. Liam felt everything stop. He looked at her, at this brilliant, complicated, fierce woman who'd trusted him when no one else would. I love you too, he said. She kissed him. And for those few moments, the rest of the world disappeared. When they finally pulled apart, she was crying. Happy tears this time. What happens now? She asked. Now we keep going, keep building, keep figuring it out. Together? Together. 1 year later, Liam stood in the same courthouse where he'd fought to keep his shares. But this time, he wasn't there for a hearing. He was there to finalize the adoption papers. Elena stood beside him, holding Sophie's hand. They'd been living together for 6 months now. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes, disagreed about everything from parenting to business strategy. But it worked. They made it work. The judge looked up from the papers. Mr. Carter, Miss Ross, do you understand that by adopting Sophie together, you're committing to raise her as equal legal guardians? Yes, Your Honor, they said in unison. And Sophie, do you understand what this means? Sophie nodded. It means Elena's going to be my mom, for real. The judge smiled. That's right. Then by the power vested in me, I grant this adoption. Congratulations. Elena burst into tears. Sophie hugged her. Liam stood there, watching his family, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete. That evening, they celebrated at the same Italian restaurant where Liam and Elena had their first real date. Sophie ordered spaghetti and got sauce everywhere. Elena laughed until she cried. Liam just watched them, memorizing the moment. On the way home, Sophie fell asleep in the back seat. Elena sat in front this time, not behind. Her hand rested on Liam's on the console between them. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For choosing us. For staying. For showing me what this could be. Liam glanced at her. You showed me too. Yeah? Yeah. I spent so long thinking I had to choose between protecting Sophie and living my life. But you taught me I could do both. That I deserved both. Elena squeezed his hand. We all deserve both. He pulled up to their house. Not his apartment or her penthouse. The home they'd bought together 3 months ago. It was small, nothing fancy, but it was theirs. Liam carried Sophie inside and put her to bed. When he came back downstairs, Elena was standing by the window, looking out at the street. What are you thinking about? He asked. About how different everything is now. A year ago, I was drowning. Running a company I didn't know how to save, fighting battles on every side, convinced I had to do it all alone. She turned to him. And then you showed up, and everything changed. You would have figured it out without me. Maybe, but it wouldn't have been this. This life, this family. She crossed to him. I wouldn't trade this for anything. Not even a drama-free existence? She laughed. Especially not that. Drama-free is boring. I think you're right. They stood there, wrapped in each other, and Liam thought about how far they'd come, about the choices they'd made, the battles they'd fought, the people they'd become. He'd spent most of his life running from his past, convinced that if he could just stay invisible, stay small, he could keep the people he loved safe. But Elena had shown him something different. That safety wasn't about hiding. It was about standing up, about choosing to fight for what mattered, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And Sophie had taught him that being a good father didn't mean being perfect. It meant showing up, being honest, letting her see him stumble and get back up again. Together, they'd taught him that love wasn't something you earned through perfection. It was something you built through truth, through choosing each other again and again, even when it would be easier to walk away. What are you thinking about? Elena asked. About how lucky I am. We're all lucky. Yeah, we are. Sophie appeared at the top of the stairs, rubbing her eyes. Can't sleep. Elena smiled. Come on, we'll read you a story. They went upstairs together, the three of them. And as Liam read to Sophie while Elena sat beside them, he realized something. This was it. This was the life he'd been fighting for. Not perfect, not smooth, but real, honest, whole. And for the first time in his entire life, Liam Carter wasn't running from who he was. He was running toward who he was becoming, with the two people who'd shown him it was okay to stop hiding. And finally, after all these years, he was home. 2 years had passed since that courthouse adoption, and Liam still wasn't used to waking up beside Elena. Not because it felt wrong, but because it felt too right, like something he didn't deserve but had been given anyway. This particular morning, she was already awake, propped on one elbow, watching him. Creepy, he mumbled. You snore. I don't snore. You absolutely do. Sophie agrees with me. He opened one eye. You asked my daughter to spy on me? Our daughter. And yes, she kissed him. Get up. We've got the board presentation at 10. I thought you were doing that alone. I was, but I changed my mind. I want you there. Liam sat up. Elena, we talked about this. I'm not a public face kind of guy. Too bad. You're on the board. You get to be public occasionally. This is why dictatorships are simpler. She threw a pillow at him. Downstairs, Sophie was already at the table working on homework that was due in 2 hours. Elena made coffee while Liam started breakfast. They moved around each other easily now, a rhythm they'd built through trial and error, and a lot of burnt toast. Dad? Sophie said without looking up from her math worksheet. Yeah? Can Riley sleep over Friday? Who's Riley? My friend, from school. I've mentioned her like 10 times. Elena hid a smile behind her coffee cup. Right, Liam said. Riley. Sure, she can sleep over. Thanks. Sophie finally looked up. You guys fighting again? We're not fighting, Elena said. You threw a pillow at him. That was affection. Weird affection. Liam laughed. This was his life now. Breakfast debates and homework, and a kid who called him out on everything. It was messy and loud and nothing like the quiet, controlled existence he'd maintained for years. And he wouldn't change a second of it. The board presentation went better than expected. Elena laid out the 5-year plan with her usual precision, and when she asked Liam to speak about the employee programs they'd implemented, he managed not to stumble over his words. Progress. Afterward, as they walked back to Elena's office, she bumped his shoulder. See? That wasn't so bad. I still hate public speaking. I know, but you're good at it when you try. I'm really not. You are. You just don't see it. She stopped at her office door. You want to know something? What? I used to think running this company meant doing everything alone, that asking for help was weakness, that if I showed any vulnerability, people would use it against me. She paused. You taught me that was wrong, that strength isn't about doing it alone. It's about knowing who to trust. Liam looked at her. You taught me some things too. Yeah? Like what? That I didn't have to keep punishing myself for the past, that I could choose something different. He touched her face. That I was allowed to be happy. Elena's eyes got bright. We're both still learning. Yeah, we are. They kissed, and Liam felt that same spark he'd felt the first time. He hoped it never went away. That evening, Liam picked Sophie up from soccer practice. She was covered in mud and grinning. We won, she announced, throwing her bag in the back. Good job. I scored the winning goal. Even better. She chattered about the game the whole drive home. When they pulled up to the house, she suddenly went quiet. Dad? Yeah? Are you and Elena going to get married? Liam's hands tightened on the wheel. Where's this coming from? Just wondering. Riley's parents are married. Most of my friends' parents are. Well, Elena and I aren't most people. So that's a no? That's a, we haven't talked about it yet. Sophie studied him. But you want to. I can tell. How can you tell? Because you look at her the way you look at me. Like she's important. Liam felt his chest tighten. She is important. Then you should ask her. It's not that simple, kiddo. Why not? Because... He stopped. Why wasn't it that simple? They loved each other. They'd built a life together. They'd already committed to raising Sophie as partners. What was he waiting for? You know what? He said. You're right. Sophie grinned. I usually am. Don't get cocky. Too late. I learned from you. He laughed and ruffled her hair. Come on, let's get you cleaned up before Elena sees how muddy you are. She won't care. She thinks soccer is character building. She would say that. That night, after Sophie was asleep, Liam and Elena sat on the back porch with wine. The city lights spread out below them, and Liam thought about how far they'd come. About the scared, angry woman he'd met 2 years ago and the person she'd become. About the man he used to be and the man he was now. What are you thinking about? Elena asked. Us? Good thoughts or bad thoughts? Good thoughts. He set down his glass. Elena, can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever think about the future? Like, really think about it? She turned to face him. All the time. And what do you see? I see this. Us, Sophie, maybe another kid someday, if we're brave enough. She smiled. Why? What do you see? Liam took a breath. He didn't have a ring, didn't have a plan, but Sophie was right. Sometimes simple was better. I see the same thing, and I want to make it official. Elena blinked. Official how? The traditional way. He took her hand. Marry me. She stared at him. Are you serious? Completely. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. It's the only proposal you've ever heard. Still the worst. But she was crying now and smiling. Yes. Yeah? Yeah. She kissed him. Yes, absolutely yes. They sat there holding each other, and Liam felt something settle, like the last piece of a puzzle clicking into place. Sophie's going to be insufferable about this, Elena said. She told me to ask you. Of course she did. She's smarter than both of us. That's not a high bar. Elena laughed and pulled him closer. The wedding was small, just Sophie, Catherine, a few close friends, and the board members who'd stood by them. No media, no spectacle. Just two people choosing each other in front of the people who mattered. Sophie cried through the whole ceremony, which she denied afterward. Elena's vows were perfect and rehearsed. Liam's were halting and honest. And when they kissed, Sophie cheered so loud that everyone laughed. At the reception, Chen pulled Liam aside. Your father would be proud. Liam felt his throat tighten. You think so? I know so. He wanted to build something that mattered, something that lasted, and you did that, not just with the company, but with your life. Chen smiled. That's the real legacy. Later, as Liam danced with Elena while Sophie spun around them, he thought about what Chen had said, about legacy and what it meant. His father had been destroyed trying to build something, and Liam had almost let that same hunger destroy him too. But he'd learned something along the way. That legacy wasn't about empires or wealth or power. It was about the people you loved, the choices you made, the way you showed up even when it was hard. It was Sophie laughing as she crashed into their dance. It was Elena's hand in his, steady and sure. It was choosing honesty over hiding, connection over safety, love over fear. That was the legacy worth building. As the night wound down and they drove home as a family, Sophie asleep in the back seat and Elena's head on his shoulder, Liam thought about the driver he'd been 2 years ago. The man who'd taken a temporary job just to make rent, who'd been so focused on staying invisible that he'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. That man would barely recognize the person he'd become. And that was okay. People weren't meant to stay the same. They were meant to grow, to change, to let themselves be shaped by the people they loved. Elena stirred beside him. What are you thinking? That I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. She smiled and squeezed his hand. Me too. And in that moment, with his daughter sleeping peacefully and his wife beside him and a future stretching out ahead of them, Liam Carter finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, not a building, but a choice. To stop running, to stand still, to let yourself be loved, flaws and all, and to love just as fiercely in return. That was the real secret. The thing no one tells you until you figure it out yourself. Home isn't something you find, it's something you build. One choice at a time, one day at a time, with the people brave enough to build it with you. And Liam had finally built his.